Razorback Nation, we are back. It is a little bit different look for us today, as I am obviously traveling for work, so not my usual studio. We got Zane here as normal, and this will be as close to a normal episode as possible. So we'll go ahead and dive into it. Tonight's going to be a chock full episode. We're going to recap the Arkansas basketball game from the other night. Big road win for Arkansas as they went on the road and beat Ole Miss. Another great showing from Acuff. And we'll dive into the transfer portal, which has really taken off since just Sunday when we talked about, well, it hadn't really gotten a ton of commits. We've only got a handful of guys. What's the plan? What is, why are guys not committing yet? We thought we'd see, a lot of guys, at least from Memphis, right off the bat. But that wasn't necessarily the case. But, in the span of just 2 days, we're up over 20 plus commits now in the transfer portal. So fantastic stuff here. So, and that's Thursday night. How are you, Zane?
I'm pretty good. We got playoff football on right now, but also enjoying being 2-0 for the first time in over 10 years in basketball and conference play. So it was definitely a good win to see. So definitely feeling good right now.
100%. So do you know how long it's been since Arkansas has been 3-0 in conference play?
I don't. All I know is the stat we see flying around is first time 2-0 since, 2014-15 season, so 11 years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, we'll go ahead and dive into it. So Arkansas goes on the road for its first road game last night against Ole Miss. Win the game 94-87. Arkansas, for the most part, has a great game. Late into the game, had me a little nervous there. Letting a 12-point lead shrink to about 4 right there going into the last few minutes. But, Darius Acuff kind of putting the team on his back, some clutch free throws, some clutch drives and plays down the stretch there. But your overall thoughts on how this team performed on the road for the first time in SEC play?
It was only our really second true road game. So it was really good to see the freshmen really play well like they did. Obviously, Acuff had 26 and 9, and that's almost just becoming like, okay, yeah, he had a good stat line. Like, it's just becoming normal.
Right.
So, honestly, what he's doing is, it's impressive for the team. But, you look at the balanced scoring. You had 26, 18, 13, 13, 10, and then 6, 5, 3. Like, it was balanced scoring. We had 5 guys in double figures. It was not the best game we've played.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't really anything where it's like, oh, we were shooting lights out this game, or oh, we were unstoppable at this, or oh, our defense was locked down. But they did everything well enough to get the win. And in SEC play, if you can just get a road win, it's big. Because, the SEC is a tough game. It's a tough conference. And,
right.
Ole Miss, I feel, in a sense, almost had maybe back against the wall in a sense, just because, you don't want to start off 0-2, especially with the non-conference schedule that they had. So they're kind of in an uphill battle now moving forward. So it's going to be one of those, it's going to be pretty tough for them. So I think, obviously, that arena can get more lively than what it was. I think most of their fans were probably already on the way to Phoenix.
Right.
But hey, you know what? I'll take it. First road game, not 100% attendance there. Worked out for us, kind of in our advantage. But, they showed some grit. The guy I was worried about, the 16-6 for him. He kind of got did his own thing, but got him in foul trouble, which helped. And honestly, they had some guys come off the bench that were shooting hot. And so Beard ended up, I think, just pulling starters and kind of playing those guys for a minute. And I don't remember, did he end up even putting those main guys back in, or was it one of those kind of let them ride? Because I don't think Dia came back in the rest of the game, did he?
I don't believe so. I know right there, I think around the 8-minute mark, he picked up his 4th foul, got pulled. And, I like you said, I don't know if he entered the game necessarily again, but I think he was. Yeah, I think he was rolling with that squad that was out there, though, because that was the group that had kind of started chipping down at that lead, especially
Camerdine or Kamardine?
no Klafke. He had
Yeah,
11
Lafley was
all his points in the last
he
7 minutes of the game.
yeah, he was on fire, so, that was a little boost for him, and, when a team gets a guy coming well, granted, he started for them, but he's not really one of their main guys. I say that. He is one of their main guys, but not kind of one of their top 2 or 3 guys to look for game in, game out. Whenever he starts clicking like that, that's a lot of times where you can lose those road games because that gets the fans involved. Hey, it's a guy you normally don't game plan for as much. Because most of our game plan was probably around Dia and kind of limiting him.
Right.
So that just throws a whole wrench in your game plan. That is where you end up losing leads and end up losing games, especially on the road when the fans can get into it. So the way kind of battle back and counter that down the stretch was awesome and really good to see. And, I think that's just more credit to Cal's coaching. So, and,
100%.
we want to talk about Acuff all the time. Yeah, he's great. But, I think so many guys on this team are looking good. Billy was 5 of 5 from the floor, 13 points. And then Brazil was 4 of 5 from 3, put up 6 boards. Knox got 6 boards. It was just an all around. Wagner threw in 4 assists. And it's just one of those that, everyone kind of did their role. And I've seen from multiple other people kind of on YouTube and on podcasts talking like this team's chemistry and their acceptance of their role on the team is amazing to see. And you don't see that with every team. You still see a lot of that kind of, hey, it's my turn to go score. And, it's one of those, it's pretty awesome to see. One thing in particular, I think, Wagner has definitely seen his role change even from the beginning of the season. He's more, as of late, kind of that third guard to kind of just give relief, even though he starts.
Right.
And at least from what we can tell, he's taken it in stride, and that is so undervalued and I think underappreciated by the fan base as a whole, because that does take a lot. And so I kind of want to give him credit for that. That's impressive.
Yeah, especially because you think about a guy like DJ Wagner comes in incredibly high ranked, number 1 player in the country when he commits to Kentucky, has a decent freshman year. He had an injury that kind of put that second half of the year in a little bit of struggle.
Before that injury, he was really good. And then after that injury, wasn't quite the same that season.
Yeah, and then you see Cal comes to Arkansas. He transfers with Cal. Doesn't necessarily have a huge bounce back year, but kind of has a decent year last year. But a lot of people were saying
the big thing on last year, though, was he was kind of instrumental once he took over that point guard with Boogie out. The team started to play better.
Right.
And that kind of got his confidence back up. And so, it is tough. I kind of feel for him. Yeah, he's not one of the main guys, but, he's accepted that role right now, and I love him for it. So.
Right. And it's it takes a lot to be a guy like him in your third year. You're an experienced guard.
Yeah.
Kind of not backseat, but kind of playing second fiddle, if you will, to a true freshman point guard that is just playing lights out right now.
Yeah. So definitely want give him credit where credit's due on that. But the team as a whole, it was also nice to see because you see the score 94-87. You think it's probably a run and gun, up tempo, fast paced game, but we only had 8 fast break points. They had 9. It was not as up tempo as you would have thought. So I think in terms of the pace, they almost slowed us down enough to where it would make us uncomfortable. But again, you find a different way to win the game.
Right.
So that's a big being able to, kind of adjust to how the other team's guarding you and still finish the game. So love just kind of, the whole team output and however performed. Also love seeing 14 offensive rebounds. So that was great.
I was about to say one thing I enjoyed seeing is that was a little bit different, and maybe this is a trend that continues to get better, is, Nick Pringle plays 21 minutes, gives you 6 points and 5 boards, a steal. That's the most we've seen out of him almost all season. And that's what we've been asking for. We don't need you to come out and score, 15, 20 points, but give us six points, 5 boards like you did. That's all we're needing from you. But biggest part, that's great. But I think he also helped be an inside presence, especially against Malik Dia.
Yes. And, it was tough seeing we only had 2 blocks, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I mean, it's not like they were pounding it down low at the block. Like, they were hitting a lot of mid-range jumpers. And honestly, I'll settle for a team shooting mid-range jumpers. If you can pull up and make those shots consistently when we're guarding you, there were a handful of shots where it's like, okay, well, that's good defense. Like, I don't know how else you guard that better. That those shots were just falling for them. So, I
Right.
think 9 times out of 10 we win that game, and I think 6 out of 10 times we win that by 12 to 18 points. But
Right.
they were making some shots I don't know if they would normally make at that clip. So definitely kind
Right.
of combination of that kind of made it a little bit closer than I feel it should have been. But
Yeah.
obviously, we get a win.
And you also see they shot 26 threes as well. Of obviously only made 8, whereas we shot 10 out of 24. But it's like the announcers are also talking. We went 22 out of 30, 73% from the line. They shot 17 of 21. But that was one thing down the stretch that got Arkansas, and helped out is the free throw line down the stretch. Darius Acuff shot 12 free throws, so 11 of his points came from the line.
Yeah, yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was definitely good. So
Interesting here to see this. What's your thoughts on this, Zane?
I mean, obviously at this point it's a troll. I mean, obviously,
Right.
even spell blue right. There's an extra e in there, but I mean, yeah, I mean,
2-0, 0-2.
yeah, I mean, yeah. It's I love seeing Kentucky lose at home to Mizzou. And honestly, if they keep playing like this, I don't know if Pope makes it past this season. I mean, they came in and spent all this for a great roster, but you don't have anyone. I think I've addressed it a couple times with them. I don't want to go deep into them, but their team is a bunch of role players and catch and shoot guys. They don't have anyone that can take their guy off the dribble. And, that's in the SEC, you need a guy like honestly, like Acuff. We have quite a few guys who, hey, if you're struggling as a team, you got to be able to put the ball on the court and get by your guy and go get a
Mm-hmm.
bucket when the shots aren't falling. You just got to see that ball
Right.
go through the rim. I don't think Kentucky has anyone like that. I know. I think,
Right.
what's his name? Is it Owe? I think it was supposed to
Yeah,
kind of be that
Otega
guy,
Owe.
but hasn't looked great. But also,
Well,
yeah, I
and they
see
were talking
another
about
comment.
and they were talking about how too, I would just wait till we get Jaden Quinton's back. He's come back and done absolutely nothing.
I mean, here's the thing. I think seeing what Quaintance has done so far, I think Carey for Tennessee's a more dominant post presence than he was, and we packed his lunch a handful of times. I'm not too worried
Right.
about Kentucky. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not trying to jinx anything, but I don't see much from Kentucky that really worries me. So
Right.
I think I would
But
put them comfortably season in. They'd be 7-11 in conference. So
yeah. So, but thought that was interesting jumping in. But getting back to the Arkansas talk, great win last night. Another road game as we head to Auburn this weekend. Surprised to see they have Auburn favored in that game. Them being
So I think
8-6 on the season.
that arena is going to be pretty lively. I don't think it'll be quite like Michigan State was beginning of the season, but it's going to be a lot more lively than what Ole Miss was.
Right.
Obviously, I don't know in terms of the whole team personnel how to guard them, but Keyshawn Hall is going to be the big guy. 20.9 points. He's a 6'7" wing. He's going to be a matchup nightmare because, I mean, the dude's so far in 2 conference games, he scored 20 and he scored 32. And it seems like he's kind of like their Acuff right now, where, it's going to flow through him. And Brazil's going to need to be big and physical. And we're going to need Billy and Knox rotating off because he's also going to be able to get to the free throw line well. So don't be shocked if we get a couple guys in foul trouble in that game early with him. So we're going to need multiple people to be able to guard him and guard him effectively because if we don't stop him early, it might be a rough game, honestly. But I think we'll be able to pull it out.
And one thing to think about too, as you mentioned, Keyshawn Hall is, he was a guy that for a minute there that everybody thought he was headed to Arkansas and play for Cal, and that just ended up not being the case, and ended up committing for Bruce Pearl, and then now Bruce Pearl's not the coach, but yeah, it's another one of the things we talked about. You look at he's their leading scorer, he's a forward, a hybrid type player, and then after him, your three, second, third, fourth guy are guards. We've said this week in, week out. Give me our guards every time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, yeah, I definitely looking at them stat wise, team wise. I mean, yeah, I don't like seeing Keyshawn Hall as an 86% free throw shooter. That's what worries me because I feel like when the handful of times
to the line, yeah,
he's able to get to the line consistently too, which makes it more difficult. So he's able to draw those fouls and get to the line, and he's able to make them. So that's going to be tough. And it's another one of those type of players, type of games that it's going to be kind of different from the last ones that we've seen and see how they kind of adapt to it.
Yeah. So, and if you look at their start to conference play, 0-2, losing their opening conference game to Georgia 104-100, so high scoring affair there, and then they come back home and play Texas A&M, and that a controversial game there if you look at it from one fan's perspective. Lose that game 90-88.
I mean, just quick sec on that. I think he got off before the buzzer. And I think the refs missed that one, but hey, you know what? It didn't happen to us, so I'm not going to be too upset. But to Auburn fans, I'm with y'all. I think he got that shot off in time, if I'm being honest. So that's tough.
Yeah. So, they're going to be itching for a win. Arkansas is going to be itching to stay undefeated. So I think we're in store for, another fun matchup, on Saturday. They're giving ESPN anyways, giving Auburn a 63% chance to win this game. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but like you said, that's going to be a loud arena, even though it is small. I think one of the big things that they like to talk about Neville Arena is that, the fans are quite literally almost on top of you compared to some other arenas.
Yeah. Can't be hitting a fan with a towel. So, yeah, contain those emotions because they're going to be right up there. So, they're going to be able to get to you a little bit easier than some games. So, definitely, like we saw a few times earlier this season, kind of stupid fouls where you let your emotions get the best of you. Avoid that. Avoid the stupid stuff. And, I mean, honestly, if you just play the way you have been and just share the ball and don't get greedy and don't get rushed and just take that extra second every once in a while just to breathe, should be okay.
Agreed. Just keep your composure. Like we've seen a lot from Darius Sakoff. Handle your business, get out, go home. So,
yeah.
Another thing that's interesting, I know we talked about it, a couple episodes or so back, but Vanderbilt might be proving some people wrong. We talked about how easy schedule. They haven't played nobody. They're getting overhyped. Well, they're just casually 2-0 and just took down Alabama.
Yes. So, and I know that Vandy's going to say, oh, well, we had a guy in foul trouble. Well, we had this. Bama didn't have a main big guy. Phylon went out pretty early in the second half. Yes, Vandy did have the lead at that point. But the thing with Bama is shooting, and it's the same thing I've said in the past with Arkansas that I don't want to become. You don't want to become a live or die by the 3 team.
Right.
Because shots were not falling for them most of the game, and they dug themselves a hole by doing that. So, that's one of those where I think our physicality is going to be able to help avoid us getting into situations like that. But, yeah, I was definitely wrong saying they were overrated. So they are looking like a solid team. But at the same time, Bama's also not going to shoot, 8 of 40 from 3 very often.
Yeah, 9 of 40. Taking 40 shots, shooting 22%. That's just an insane, like you said, they weren't hitting. They still shot them, and, that was part of their downfall.
Not your night. So, yeah, obviously give credit due to Vandy. Also, I don't know how many fouls were in that game. There was, so many fouls that it kind of took Bama's fast break, wear people down mindset out of it. So I think, there were a handful of things. I'm not as worried about Vandy as some people I've seen online talking, just because Bama wasn't able to hit shots and it was such a free throw fest. It's not going to be like that every single game. Um, so I still think I still think they're beatable, but I do think it's going to be Bama, Vandy, Arkansas top of the conference right now.
Yeah, I agree. And what Arkansas's got going for them too is that game is in Bud, so everybody will show up, especially if it's a right now where us and them are ranked. It would be a top 15 matchup by then. Who knows? You could be looking at top 10. Who knows?
If
That's
both
just
teams
looking.
roll into
That's
that game undefeated, oh boy, it's going to be a fun game.
100%. So don't want to look too far ahead of it, but Arkansas just go on the road, take care of business against Auburn, and come back home to play South Carolina before you have to hit the road again and go to Georgia. So
Yeah. And that Georgia game, I'm like, you may see 200 plus points put up between the two teams, because I know at least last week we were like third in the country in fast break points per game. They were first. So both of us love to get up and down the court, and that game's going to be a shootout, I got a feeling.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. So fantastic things going on for Arkansas basketball right now. Just want to keep that momentum going. And, talking about momentum, Arkansas football and Coach Silverfield have got the momentum in the transfer portal right now, and it seems like the past few days they are not letting off the gas.
Yeah.
Because, it's like I said at the start of the show, we, portal open last Friday. We've kind of been sitting around waiting and seeing, all right, when are all these commits going to happen? We've gotten one here, one there. What's the holdup? Well, just Silverfield said, just give me a minute. You had all these visits, these guys coming, things like that. And so, now you're looking at Arkansas up over 27 commits so far on this transfer portal cycle.
Yeah.
And a lot of them in those places that we talked about. The need, especially on defense. Like you look at Arkansas right now, to date they've got 6 DBs signed. We talked about needing to, revamp that defensive back room. They went out and signed 4 linebackers to kind of the entire defense essentially needing to be revamped. Went and signed 3 defensive linemen. 2 of them big guys, Hunter Osborne, Carlin Jones. Osborne from Virginia, previously at Alabama, Carlin Jones. Redshirt freshman at USC, kind of just stuck on the depth chart there, looking for somewhere he can go get some playing time, instant impact type of guy. And then making some moves on the offensive side of the ball. The biggest one, A.J. Hill. That's a big one that, Arkansas fans figured he would come. Some good competition for KJ. I'm excited to see what that's going to look like over the fall, honestly, into the spring.
I mean, I think that's going to honestly be a true toss-up for the starter. I don't think, obviously I loved seeing what I saw from KJ this year, but I don't think that's set in stone that KJ is going to be starting next year, because I think, and a lot of fans are saying, oh, well, he was a backup. Yeah, but he was also a true freshman behind a experienced quarterback. But like in his limited playing time, he had decent numbers. I mean, the dude was he had offers to Bama, Georgia, and Notre Dame as well. So like, the dude has talent.
Right.
So he's very good. And so I think that'll really be a tough competition there.
Well, and you look at it too, it's like you look pros and cons. It's like you look KJ. He's a redshirt freshman, so he's been in college football for 2 years, sat behind Talon, has had the, benefit of learning a complex offense of Bobby Petrino. Con didn't play a ton. And, then you look at A.J. Hill, only a true freshman, very talented. Like you just mentioned, had all those offers, very familiar with Coach Silverfield and our offensive coordinator in Cramsey, very familiar with the playbook, so kind of has an upper hand there. So it's going to, I think it's just going to be in the spring and fall who can come out, and over the summer who can come out, command this offense, and kind of, show they have a full understanding.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you look at the teams that AJ Hill's recruited, or the teams that offered him a scholarship. You have Notre Dame, you have Texas A&M, Tennessee, Penn State, Ole Miss, Miami, Georgia, Florida State, Auburn, Alabama, Florida. I mean, the dude was recruited by a lot of people. He's a good player. So,
Right.
I think a lot of the fans' opinions of, oh, well, he was a backup. He didn't play last year. Why are we so excited? Well, all these schools saw something in him. So, I mean,
Right. It's
yeah,
not just a coincidence there. So,
no.
and then you jump over, look at the running back room. Arkansas is set at running back. They're put themselves squarely in a good spot because you look at the depth that they have. All right, you got Braylon Russell coming back. You brought in Sutton Smith. You brought in Jasper Parker, the former 4-star from Michigan. You got TJ Hodges, the 4-star freshman coming in. Not to mention Cam Settles and Markeelan Batten, both returning too, that were freshmen last year. So, you are set at running back. You've got all the depth you want. You jump over to wide receiver. So, as we know, needed a little bit of help there after kind of some guys changed their minds between Andy Jean, Cross Johnson, Cam Shanks all leaving. You've got Jalen Brown, Antonio Jordan, C.J. Brown coming back, Ismail Cisse, but then Arkansas added Jamari Hawkins from Memphis, 5'9" speedster type of guy.
Yeah.
And then just tonight, right before we jumped on here, Donovan Fapool from New Mexico State. If that sounds familiar, that is exactly where Mike Washington came from. So you've got a talented receiver coming in from New Mexico State to help there. And then Arkansas got good news yesterday, staying on the offensive side of the ball. Jaden Platt's coming back. That's one name that we talked about that we're still waiting to hear. And then he announces with the new NIL for Arkansas, the front office, they're calling it.
Yeah.
He's coming back. And then you grabbed Matt Adcock from Memphis, so another guy that's coming over, familiar with the playbook, that can definitely be a big help. Offensive line, like we talked about, your key trio there coming back between Kittler, Branham, and Cash Courtney. And then transfer portal wise, Malachi Breland, very familiar Memphis guy. You're bringing in Adam Hawks, the redshirt freshman from Oregon State. And then, again, just before we jumped on here, you were able to pick up Josiah Clemson from Memphis as well, another big-time player that, you just look at him in an aspect of sheer size, 6'7", 330.
Yeah.
He'll have four years of eligibility, so big time there to bring him over from Memphis. And, there's still some other guys out there that, have been on visits that you're hoping maybe you can pick up.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
mean, I'm happy where we are right now in the portal. I mean, according to 24/7, this was updated 40 minutes ago. The transfer class, we're currently ranked 15th. So, granted, it is 8th in the SEC. So, pretty much middle of the pack. It's better than 14th or 15th, though. And
right,
15th
exactly.
in the country. I'll take that. I'll take that for a transfer class. It's, that's pointing kind of like we were talking about, like the funding and the support. That's kind of showing like we're getting what they were saying we were going to get. So that's definitely positive news.
Right, especially some of these guys that are at the top of their position. Like, one of the bigger ads I think on defense is you look at Kamori House, the linebacker that committed from North Carolina, ranked in the top 10 at that position. And to your point, and there's still a week left on this transfer portal cycle. So Arkansas, I don't think they're done yet. I think we're scratching the surface because you saw Coach Silverfield last season at Memphis. He brought in like 70 new players. So he's not afraid to bring in almost necessarily a whole new squad. And so, from the talent perspective, you look at what's going out versus what's coming back in. I think you're in the net positive, if you will, on what you got coming in versus what's leaving. And, some other good news that Arkansas got this week was Charlie
Charlie
Collins.
Jones. Yep.
He decided to withdraw from the portal. Nigel Pringle decided to withdraw from the portal. So you're getting some guys that they're like, well, after maybe they're seeing what's happening here and they're like, wait a minute, maybe I want to stick around for this and, be a part of this. And then, like we said, you're over on the defensive side of the ball, picked up specifically Jamon Walker from Auburn, who's an edge guy, and then Hunter Osborne and Carlin Jones, those guys I mentioned earlier, some of your D-tackle type guys that are going to be bigger.
Yeah.
Both those guys over 6 foot, over 300 pounds, so some good depth to go along with Quincy Rhodes and some of those other guys you got coming back. Linebacker room, I love where this is sitting at right now on top of what you've got coming back. You pick up Phoenix Jackson, transfer from Baylor, Jaquavion Smith, transfer from Howard, Kamori House, we just mentioned, he was the leading tackler on that North Carolina team last year. And then you pick up Steve Souls from Kentucky, who's kind of a hybrid linebacker edge type player. He's listed as a linebacker, but he can also play on the edge on the line. He was one of the top guys at Kentucky last season. And, we talked about this defense needed a big revamp, or you're getting it right here with what Silverfield's doing. And then the defensive back room, I think, is the biggest one. You look at, you grab one of the top DBs in the transfer portal with Jaheim Joker Johnson from Tulane. He was one of the best grabs, had 4 interceptions on the season for Tulane last year. And then you grab Shelton Lewis, an extremely talented guy from Clemson that has, up to thus far had his seasons hampered with some injuries, but he's, the reports out there that he's feeling healthy. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
Your first commit you got, as we talked about the other day, Christian Harrison from Cincinnati, another big-time guy that, 1 touchdown and 600 career snaps. I'll take that every day.
Yeah. That's kind of what burned us this past year, so it's good to see someone with that lack of experience of touchdowns, but experience not allowing touchdowns. Don't know how to word that, but it's nice to see that come in.
Right. And you get a pair of guys from Maryland with Lakai Rowland and Braden Lee, 2 guys bringing experience, to this DB room. And then you grab Tyler Scott, another guy out of Georgia State. And then you pair those guys with Pringle and, some of these guys you got coming in, Tay Lockett, Jalen Copeland. So, I think this secondary could be shaping up to be looking refreshed and good to go for next year. You're still waiting to hear on guys like Jaheim Singletary. I know a lot of Arkansas fans would be fine if he necessarily wasn't coming back. He's been a guy that, I know we talked about towards the end of last year, being a guy that at this point you almost can label him a bust. Came in from Georgia 2 years ago, highly touted, recruited guy. Didn't see the field a ton at Georgia, and you're thinking, oh, well, it's probably because they're stacked and loaded at that position. Transfers over to Arkansas, starts off and on his first year here, and you're like, okay, maybe he's just filling it out, getting the system. Next year, this past season, really struggles, gets beaten some coverage, and has some dumb mistakes, and you're wondering, well, maybe it makes sense why he wasn't necessarily seeing the field at Georgia either. Yeah. And I don't want to be negative about a guy like that, but it's just like, I mean, when the proof's out there and the stats and your playing time, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much speculation before it comes down to the stats and what the facts say. Obviously, not trying to be mean, but it's kind of shown maybe he's not what we thought he would have been. So, kind of indifferent. And sorry, I have a dog walking around behind me on the couch.
You're good. And so, it's one of those things that, it is what it is. And so, current guys in the portal, just kind of to give you an idea where Arkansas guys are headed. So, as we know, Ian Jaffard is headed to Texas. Keyshawn Davila headed to North Texas. Tavian Wallace went to Kentucky. A little bit of family ties there. That's where his brother played before he went in the draft and currently plays for the Carolina Panthers. Zach Harbor headed to Illinois. Grayson Wilson headed to Boston College. A little surprised there to see that's where he's headed. J.J. Shelton headed to Baylor. Justice Boone and Blake Cherry, so one offensive lineman, one defensive lineman, both headed to Wisconsin. And Marion Harris, a guy that I think we wish we would have got back just because of the experience and playing with these guys, headed to Oklahoma. And then one of the surprises, Scott Starzik, is headed to the other side of the rivalry and headed down to play for Lane Kiffin at LSU.
Man, Ole Miss pulled so many Hawgs out of the portal whenever he was at Ole Miss, and so I don't know. The whole Lane Kiffin pulling Hawgs is a little too common.
Right. It's like even when
but hey, honestly, I don't know if you know what I was going with the whole Washington's quarterback, that whole fiasco. That'll be I'm kind of just sitting back with some popcorn waiting for something to happen here.
Well, I believe I saw earlier, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, that he came out and said he is going to return to Washington now after all the drama today. I think he decided that it's not worth the battle.
That little clause in the contract kind of screwed him. But I'm like, if you're Washington, do you even want him to play next year?
Right. It's like you're clearly showing me you're not committed.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't know. That's fiasco. I kind of wished they would have let it play out because it would have been amazing to see Lane Kiffin get LSU on probation before he even coaches a game for him. So,
right, that would have been so fitting and hilarious to watch.
Oh my gosh, I don't expect anything less, but hey,
yeah. So, then you look at these guys that we've got committed left. So a lot of these guys have 1 year left, but if you look at where they're ranked, some of the higher ranked guys, we've got Joker Johnson that I mentioned from Tulane, the DB. He was ranked 7th in the DB spot. Kamori House ranked 8th. And so, you're getting some good guys, some power four experience coming over.
Well, wasn't Kamari House visiting Ohio State a couple days ago?
That was
no, that was the Maryland DB.
That
Not
was
House.
Lakai Rowland.
He
chose Arkansas over Ohio State and Georgia Tech. Like, if you're getting guys to choose you over schools like that, hey, I'll take it.
For sure.
And then not to mention Arkansas adds itself another offensive lineman in Bryant Williams, Louisiana offensive tackle. He was ranked the number 6 tackle in the portal.
He's a big guy too, isn't he?
Yes, he's 6'7", 335.
Okay.
Played in 36 career games and did not allow a sack. Yes, exactly.
Oh, well, hey, I'll take that.
He allowed a 2.8% allowed pressure rate this season as left tackle. That would be above average for even a center. 28th out of 220 FBS tackles with 600-plus snaps.
Hey, I'll take that.
Hey, Silverfield is shoring up and making sure whoever the quarterback is going to be next year is going to be well protected and, be able to have time to run this offense.
Like maybe more depth on the O-line as well.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big ones is like, you want to have depth. Yes, you lost two really good experienced guys between Carmona and Corey Robinson on that left side of the line. That's where most of, the competition is going to be is your left tackle and left guard, because you got Caden Kittle coming back as your center. You got Kobe Branham on the right side, so you might need to fill out your right side with one spot, but you really got to replace those guys on that left side of the offensive line.
Yeah.
Especially because, if, say, KJ is your starter, he's a lefty. So that's going to be, his main side. And then you're going to have those right side of that line as your blind side. So.
Yeah. So it's definitely one to look for and kind of keep an eye on who else we are able to bring in. I like what we have so far, but definitely don't think we're done yet. So.
Yeah, I agree. And, it was fun today, especially because, if you missed it, on the good old Twitter today, Coach Silverfield, he started the day out with just WPS, three exclamation marks, and the little Razorback emoji. So you knew today was going to be a good day
Yeah.
To begin
And that
with,
it was.
and sure enough, it lived up to that hype. And to your point, I don't think we're done yet. So I'm excited to see what Arkansas is going to do in this next week, and hey, even between now and when we talk Sunday. So
Yeah. So still a lot that can happen.
yeah, and then in case you missed it
When
too,
we talk Sunday, we'll be 3-0 in basketball.
exactly. It's just going to be a fun conversation to have Sunday, and then not to mention, in case you missed it today, there's a picture shared out there where construction crews are already working on the new video board at Baumwalker down the third base line out in left field. So that's going to be fantastic. We were joking in our group chat for the show that we have that, hey, they better get to working fast because, before you know it, you've got a little over a month until baseball season's here. Luckily, they get a little extra week because we do not open the season at home as we'll be down in Arlington.
That's true. Another big thing is the preseason rankings came out today.
Exactly.
Number 4.
For a perfect game, yes. It's about the time that all those preseason rankings, Baseball America, Perfect Game, all those. Perfect Game was the first one to release theirs. They've got Arkansas logged in at number 4. I think the surprise for me is that when you look at those rankings, they got Tennessee at 3. And I just don't know if I'm sold on that with, their coach leaving and things like that.
I agree with that. Because I don't remember how much of their roster left whenever he left.
I'm not 100% either. That would be a question once he gets on here on Sunday to talk to Hobbs about. And then, I'd even ask Hobbs in our chat about, they've got Georgia Tech listed at 2. And I'm like, what's the deal with Georgia Tech? And he's like, well, they've got probably one of the best players in the country on their roster. So, that'll help do it. So
Drew Burris.
Yeah. So before you know it, we'll be talking baseball and basketball. I can't wait.
Yeah. So definitely exciting to see.
But yeah, as we continue on with the transfer portal, like we said, we'll keep you guys updated. We have a good, fun basketball game on Saturday against Auburn. And then, like we said before, baseball season will be here. We'll be talking about Arkansas baseball and basketball. Spring practice. I'll be excited to hear the news coming out of spring practice for football. I believe they said 12 out of our 17 incoming freshmen are going to be on campus tomorrow or next Friday as they get enrolled early. So, getting a head start. So some of those guys, when you think about all these guys that we got coming in, are going to have get a lot of experience. And, I think it's always good when freshmen are able to enroll early, if they don't necessarily care much about their the rest of their like senior year, if you will.
Yeah. I know like Satania stuck around for track, but most of them were, you're starting to see that more often now. Everyone seems to be enrolling early in the spring there to, make sure they are not falling behind or anything.
Yeah. So it's been fun, trying to keep up with all these transfer portal additions and whatnot. So we're keeping you updated on this. We've got a whole spreadsheet broken down for this. And so we'll get ready to wrap up here. But just a little teaser and heads up, you might want to mark your calendars and make sure you are subscribed. We have a good show coming to you on Sunday that you probably don't want to miss. Just a heads up. So, but as we get ready to wrap up here, you got anything else, Zane, before we get out of here?
No, I don't have anything else really. So I'm good.
Yeah, a little bit shorter show tonight, but combination of I'm traveling and we're covering the news. We'll go in more in depth on Sunday as well. So we're going to wrap up here. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. That way you don't miss any time we go live, like Sunday. And we're going to get out of here. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend. Watch the Hawgs on Saturday. Can't wait to move to 3-0 in conference play. 100%. I'm doing that right now. But, so we're going to get out of here. From Zane, myself, everybody have a great rest of your week. Have a good Friday weekend, and we'll see you on Sunday.